Hello and welcome to another video. So today we are rounding out my whole series on tools and how to use them safely in forest school, with a video on drills, drilling and generally making holes in things safely. So we'll cover choosing the right equipment and the different options out there, choosing the drill bits, how to manage safety with drills and much more. So if you're interested in learning more about using tools safely, you can check out my full playlist on tools. And if you're looking at learning more about drills specifically, then keep watching. I'll be back in a moment. If you've watched any of my previous videos on tools and using tools safely, you'll know that I'm a big proponent of choosing the right tool for the right job. Modifying the tool will often make activity safer, easier and more achievable. And with drills and making holes in things, there are plenty of options out there. Starting with a palm drill, which is essentially a wooden handle and a drill bit stuck together, something you could quite easily make yourself. And these are good in their simplicity. They're good and cheap and easy to use, at least if you have a decent amount of strength. Basically, you're going to put your palm over the top, grip it with your fingers, and then you're going to be using the motion of your wrist and the weight of your body to drill through something. Now this can be quite a challenge for younger children, so it's something that does work a bit better either if you're using something really soft, say drilling out the center of an elder bead, or pushing the pith out of the center of an elder, or drilling through something like conkers, something softer, or you're working with slightly older and slightly bigger and stronger learners. As I said, really simple. It's very unlikely to break, very few moving parts, but it does require a lot more effort. Now along the same lines, another one you can look at is the gimlet. This is essentially just a tapered skewer with a little bit of a thread on that and then a handle at the back. This is useful for making holes in things like leather, using it for beading, anything where you need a small hole and you don't want anything massively complicated. I keep a couple of these in my bushcraft kit because it's difficult to make holes in something without a proper tool, and this is really lightweight and easy to use. So this is what I use quite often for poking string through beads. It's just a general good all-purpose tool. Then moving on up, you may well have seen one of these before, which is a auger with a handle. You can push a stick or a piece of wood through, obviously a lot longer one than this, and then you can use that to turn, and you can get several people on it, and you can make a really quite large hole with this. And we'll get into auger bits in more detail a bit later. The advantage of this is you're making a really big hole. So this is for making things like stools, setting up benches, boring holes through something for rope to pass through. It's quite a large one. Now this is quite popular, but I will say again, just like the palm drill and just like the gimlet, this is something that requires a lot of force. So it's not quite suitable for the younger children. It's something that we are going to focus more on children that have a lot of strength, or we can get a lot of people working together with an adult to move the drill through the wood. So that is the 3 kind of hand drills, the ones that will be using basically the force and muscle directly. As we move on, drills, you may well have seen this style, where you essentially have a cog and a little handle, and it's just going to turn around and drive the chuck. Now these are quite handy, so you can apply quite a bit of pressure from the top. This can be a bit of a challenge to turn for younger ones, but it's a lot easier, and you can actually, as an adult, have control over the top. Whereas with a palm drill, whatever, it'll be pretty much down just to the child on their own. You can apply pressure from the top and then have the child just turn the cogs round and drill in. This is a really good option as a starter drill. There is another slightly different version, which is the pistol handle. So there you can use a bit more of your body weight, a bit more comfortably. It works better for drilling in a straight line horizontally, but it will also work vertically. And I find this particular handle is a lot easier for children to turn, so younger children to turn. I find it a lot easier than the large teeth and cogs of the bigger drill. So there we go. So those are the 2 smaller hand drills. So these are ones that I'd hand to the younger children, and I'd be quite happy with them using it on their own, or using this one with a little bit of help from an adult. But the important thing to remember with these is that they will only accept a certain size of drill bit. So they are quite small. They're good for small drill bits, and you're also only able to generate a limited amount of force and leverage. So think of it as torque. So this is for your smaller tasks. If you're looking to make bigger holes and you're looking to make deeper holes, then if you're still looking at a hand drill, you may well look at this, a bit and brace. So you have the kind of handle on the top that you can apply pressure. This can sit into a shoulder, and then it can be rotated hand. So this is one that I favor for when I'm working with children, if we're drilling, as I said, bigger or deeper holes. So I can apply force from the top, and I can kind of control the motion of it, and there's a whole lot of space for the child to move the handle around and drill into the wood. So these are my favorites. These are ones well worth looking out for at car boot sales. You may well find some of these as well, but these days nobody is as interested in these bit and brace older style drills, but they work really well, and it's quite easy to restore one back to its former glory and back to getting it operational. Said they're a really good solid piece of equipment. These ones will have a bigger chuck, so you can fit bigger drill bits in there, and you can apply a whole lot of force, a whole lot of leverage, and you can even have ratcheted versions like this, so you don't necessarily need to go all the way around. You can just ratchet backwards and forwards one plane. I said, really good. I consider these a really good addition to forest school kit. Then the last drill that you might want to consider is all of those require some amount of force applied to it, and they vary. So that basically they'll vary according to the size of the drill bit that you have. So a drill bit that is closer to this size will need a lot more force than a drill bit closer to this size, and also depending on how deep you go and how big the wood is. And there are times where you're going to be undertaking activities with children, and there's something you want to do, and there's a hole you want to drill with them, but they just don't have the muscular strength to make it through. So you basically have two options there. Either one, do it for them, or two, bring down the barrier of entry. And this is something that is still relatively new to me, using a power drill, but as a very good friend and something of a colleague said, we are all about helping children achieve and make progress. So do we want to leave something as a barrier, or do we want to break down those barriers as much as we can? Differentiation was the word that I was used when I was in schools, and it's about bringing the level down so that the children so it's appropriate for the children and so that they can actually achieve. So I use a electric drill quite often. As I said, when I'm working with younger ones, or we're working to get through something really big, like we're drilling into a stump to make a three-legged stool or something like that, and you need a lot of torque and power, and I don't think that the children I'm working with have that power, I will obviously bring a electric drill. And you just risk assess exactly the same. So the way I actually do it is I'll hold at the back and at the top, and I'll get them to put their hand over top of mine, so they're pressing down as well, and then I have them work the trigger themselves. So that way I've got it stable, it's not going to kick around because I'm holding the back steady, and I can also apply a bit more pressure, but I can let them do a lot of the work, and this involves them in the process. It gets them thinking about different ways you can use drills and drill bits, and it's a good solution for if you don't think there's going to be the ability, the either muscular or mental ability to manage to get through a bigger piece of wood. Once you've selected the drill that you're going to use based on the amount of leverage, the age and ability of the children, next thing you want to do is look at the drill bits that you're going to be using. Now, not all drill bits are created equal, and as forest school leaders, you're likely going to be doing a lot of drilling of wood, so it makes sense to have wood drill bits. So these you can see that just have the somewhat more blunt tip. These are general purpose, or for masonry, or for your general purpose drilling, so they won't necessarily have as much grip, and they won't necessarily start off the drill as easily. Getting a set of wood specific drill bits like these that have a little point on them, and then they have little flanges around the outside that just gently cut away before it drills in, really do make a difference. It'll stop it from skittering around as much, and that is one of the key elements that we're trying to avoid, is the drill bit kicking out any direction or being unpredictable. So having something with a point on the end so that it will rest in the wood, and that means that it'll start off really well and is unlikely to move sideways with pressure, whereas a blunted drill bit is easier to move it to one side. So I really like the drill bits, so that's good for starting them off. But when you don't have a lot of pressure that you can apply on top, and some of the younger children that we work with won't have that physical weight or muscle to be able to push down enough to be able to start pushing the drill bit into the wood, which is why I've started using a lot of these auger drill bits. So yeah, so the concept with an auger drill bit is that there is a screw, a pointed screw right at the tip of the auger, so that'll actually draw the drill bit into the wood bit by bit. So the idea there is that once you've got it started, it will keep on digging itself deeper. and you won't need necessarily that amount of force on the top pushing it down to get it into the wood to make it bite deeper. So a lot of the time I will use an auger drill bit, and it will tend to need a bigger chuck and a bigger drill, but one of these paired with a bit and brace drill works really well. The other drill bit you might want to think about is a masonry or tile drill bit. This is what I use when I'm working with slate. It works really well. It just bites quite neatly. It leaves a nice rounded edge hole through there, and that's something you might want to look at specifically. The other thing to look for when you are looking for sets of drill bits, particularly if you're working with drills that have that chuck, you can see it has a, you zoom in, it has a triangular structure to it inside that chuck. So that means a round drill bit doesn't have very much to grip on it. It's more likely to slip, it's more likely to fall out. So getting one with an angled edge with straight edges is a lot better. So if you get one that's either hexagonal or something similar, give it a bit more like this kind of style on the back of this auger bit. It means it'll hold on a lot better in those chucks, and it will mean less likely to slip around. So once you've decided whether you're going for a wood drill bit, auger bit, a masonry or ceramic tile drill bit, next thing you're going to be thinking about is size. So as a good all-purpose size, this is kind of over 5 mil, something like that, is a good all-rounder. Most of the time I work with either paracord or jute twine, so I'll typically size it according to that. If you're looking to drill bigger holes, then get a set specifically for that size. It's better to have a couple of drill bits of common sizes rather than and then just one set of a whole range to make sure that you've got the right size. As I said, you don't want to be drilling too big a hole for the project, because the bigger the hole, the bigger the drill bit, the more effort is required to push it through. So once you've selected the right drill bit and drill for the job, now we can think about setting up our environment for success. Now, drills are in general quite safe. There aren't very many sharp edges. Basically, on something like a palm drill, there's virtually nothing. I can stab that into my hand, and as long as I'm not putting a massive amount of force behind it, isn't going to do a lot of damage. Of course, like many things, just because it doesn't have a sharp edge doesn't make it completely safe, and there will be some element of risk to it. Now, the main element of risk will come from the pointy end of the drill, obviously going through into a hand. So the idea is it would probably be a bad idea for me to be drilling into my hand like this. We can all accept that that's a bad idea. So the main danger will be to anything that is close to the drill bit. So we don't want our hands near the bottom edge of the drill. And most of these drills are a two-handed operation. So naturally, the drill bit will stay further away from the piece that you're working on. Now, the only difficulty with this is, of course, you want to be able to hold that piece in place firmly so it doesn't slip around, because obviously it's slipping around, then you're creating risk. So if I just had my disc of wood on top of here and I would apply pressure sideways, I'd immediately twist it around or throw it off. So because we're applying rotational force, we need something to clamp it in place. Now there are a few different options to do this, and basically you want to create a clamp that means that you don't have to have anyone's hands near the bottom of the drill bit. Now probably the handiest thing you can have for this is a good sturdy plank. So you can prop this up between two stumps and use it as a basis for your drilling. So first of all, it gives you a flat surface to work on, so you're not sliding off the top of a stump. And then there's a couple of different options. So if you're just looking to drill holes in something that is round like the wood cookies or wood discs, then a simple clamp like this works really well. You just have a bigger plank of wood and then just screw two battens in at an angle. That means we can slide our cookies in there, and that will clamp it tight. And it'll also give something to drill into, so we're not drilling into precious planks, tables, whatever. So that is at its core the simplest version. Now with the drill bit, you could obviously just clamp it on to the side with a G-clamp, but the problem is those tend to be quite big and you have to have something flat enough so that they can grip, and even then it's not perfect. So what I really like working with is, if I'm working with bigger items, are these Stanley clamps. They are fantastic. So they have a clamp at the bottom and then they have a vise at the top. So basically it's like a portable vise. So we can just tighten that onto there. Then we adjust. So this can adjust sideways. It can swivel. It can turn any which way. Clamp whatever we have on the top there. Get someone to sit on either end of the plank so it's not going anywhere. And then we can take our drill and we can drill right into the top there, and it'll hold it steady. These things are fantastic. Not sponsored in any way by Stanley, but this is a great way to adapt things. On a side note, it's a great way to adapt things for people that are struggling to hold on to things. I did a whole session of carving with a girl who had her left arm in a cast, and we were able to clamp the wood that she was whittling into here, and then she could continue carving. She'd just be moving down it. Absolutely fantastic. So really good way to clamp it and secure it. And then lastly, if we're looking to make smaller things like elder beads or conkers, these little clamps are really cute and quite nice. So they're just a basic screw top. You put whatever it is in there, screw it in to clamp it, and then you can just lay that flat on a surface and it'll keep the drill bit contained and will stop from whatever it is you're drilling through from bouncing away. So in essence, that is all you need to know to get drilling. So choose the right drill, choose the right drill bit. So with the right drill, you're thinking about, okay, how old are the children or learners I'm working with? How much physical strength do they have? What type of material am I going through, and what's the size of hole that I'm looking to make? If I'm trying to drill through seasoned oak, it'll be different from drilling through freshly cut willow. There's going to be a difference. So think about the tools in that context. Choose the right drill bit. As I said, I recommend the auger drill bits. They work so much better. But a wood drill bit as a minimum is really good to have. And then think about how you can secure the piece of work that they're working on, either with a simple wooden clamp or just an end stop on a chopping block. So you just have a block of wood clamped in so they can rest it up against there, or you go with something a bit more complicated, like a clamp like this, or just something simple, just something to hold the work still, so that you don't need to have your fingers or their fingers anywhere near the drill bit. And with all that, you should have no problems at all, and be really comfortable getting out there and making holes in plenty of things for fun activities. I mean, the number of things you can do once you can drill holes in wood is endless, from Nordic braiding to making necklaces, to blowpipes, to elder beads. I said, possibilities are endless. So there you go. I hope you found this useful, and I hope this has inspired you to get out and get a couple of new drills for your set, forest school equipment set. So it's really good one to start off with. If you're still nervous about tools, start off with drills first, and then work your way up to splitting and knives and saws, so on, but later once you've gained a bit of confidence. That, I'm just going to say a quick thank you to Wellness Woodlands for hosting me here again. It's a beautiful summer's day, and I've got a little bit of a session later, so I'm looking forward to spending a whole lot of time out in the woods. If you're looking for a beautiful campsite within easy driving distance of Birmingham, but not so far away that you can't travel back home if something goes wrong, and it's a really great camp for beginners over in Highley. So I'll leave a link to that in the description below. I do thoroughly recommend checking them out. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to make the most of every day, and I'll see you all next time.